I want to put up one of the more explosive details from the whistleblower complaint that was also made public today, involving allegations that the White House tried to cover up the president's phone call with Ukraine. It was actually a big part of the first half of this hearing. In the days following the phone call, the whistleblower writes, I learned from multiple U.S. officials that senior White House officials had intervened to, quote, lock down all records of the phone call, especially the official word-for-word transcript of the call. According to multiple White House officials I spoke with, again, that's the whistleblower's words, the transcript of the president's call with President Zelensky was placed into a computer system reserved for code word level intelligence information, such as covert action. Well, I got a good group of people to explain all this for you. Back with me are Carol, Evelyn, Larry, and Jeremy. And Larry, you dealt with this document handling a lot when you were at the CIA. So explain the idea that there is a lockdown server and then there's another server. What are we talking about here?
So at the NSC, in the Directorate of Intelligence Programs, they have an enclave that is able to protect the most sensitive secrets of the intelligence community. This includes detailed information about covert action programs, detailed information about sensitive counter-terrorism strikes like the Bin Laden raid. You also would have sensitive reconnaissance programs, some of the spooky satellites we have, or some of the other more exotic collection platforms. It's not been a place to put transcripts of telephone calls unless those telephone calls involved one of those programs. One could envision the president.
That's about the only time you can envision a phone call between two leaders showing up in that database?
With one exception, and that exception was the very, very secret diplomatic initiative in the Obama administration where Senator Kerry, when a senator, was talking with Barack Obama and the Omani leadership in the beginnings that led to the Iran nuclear agreement. That we did put onto that enclave to keep it from prying eyes.
So the fact this would raise an alarm with people in the room if the idea is, why is that phone call going on there?
No, the phone call was barely classified. If you read it, there's no sensitive information. Right. They marked it secret, which is kind of a low level of classification.
Right, that's not a big classification.
Just so it wouldn't be published. However, it would allow it to be distributed broadly. What putting the document on this sensitive enclave achieved was it limited the distribution. It basically said the State Department officials, even other intelligence community professionals who cover Ukraine could not see this. They were worried about this document leaking out. They knew it showed wrongdoing.
Evelyn, in your position, you wouldn't have seen that document. You were Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense of Ukraine and Russia Affairs. Yeah. That phone call readout would not have made it to you if it had gotten put in that database?
It depends on how quickly it was put in that database, but in theory, yes, I would not have seen it then. Now, I might have had a phone call with someone who was in the room and took notes. And
hey, let me tell you what happened.
And then I would have found out what happened, right? Certainly, I would have known, I would have had a sense of why the aid was being held back.
The other thing
I can't imagine that the officials at the political level didn't know.
Okay.
The other thing to note is this transcript was being processed in normal channels, and it was stopped. I don't know of any sensitive phone call that was not handled in a sensitive manner from the origins of the phone call. Yeah. So this was a decision made after the fact.
Well, Carol, according to here, it was essentially that the White House White House lawyer, which is White House counsel office, took control of this.
To me, this is the most significant thing, out of a lot of significant things in this whistleblower complaint, is that not only did this happen on this occasion, but the whistleblower says that this was not the first time that White House officials said something like this has happened specifically to protect the president's political interests, not national security interests.
Let me push back. Considering that he was a victim of all these leaks early on, is that not a plausible response?
Well, what they did after all of those leaks was they reined in, if you talk to Obama administration officials, they'll say they were giving out the transcripts like candy and everyone was reading them. And clearly that was the case initially in the Trump administration. And they reined that in. And so the number of people whose eyes were able to be on it was already severely curtailed. What the whistleblower was saying is that this was a very concerted effort that involved White House lawyers and other White House officials to try to bury something that they thought was politically damaging to the president.
Jeremy and Larry, what do you make of the fact that essentially Joseph Maguire's first day as acting is when this whistleblower complaint was filed? You think that's a coincidence?
Well, I think it's possible that the predecessors to Joe Maguire, Dan Coats and others, knew that this was coming along.
Coats said, though, he was not aware. He was asked yesterday, for what it's worth.
And it was in the IG's hands before Coats left.
But the IG had not gone to Coats,
Correct.
at least according to Coats.
Correct.
I don't know the exact timing there, but Chuck, I think this showed actually the inexperience of a Joe Maguire on the job. Although he had a decorated military career, led an intelligence component. I mean, man, you're hit with this the first week in the job. First of all, I felt kind of bad for him because no one can be trained for this kind of squeeze play between executive privilege and wrongdoing and the whistleblower statute. So, I think he was trying to navigate this, but I think at the end he kind of made the wrong call because teeing this up for the Justice Department to review when Bill Barr was one of the people alleged to have participated in this inappropriate conspiracy was manifestly bad judgment.
Yeah, in hindsight, the Barr thing is going to raise a lot of alarm bells on Capitol Hill. Larry?
So I'm sympathetic at one level to this notion of a division of legal authority interpretation. When I was at CIA with General Hayden, we had our statutory general counsel who was there to advise all of CIA on its activities. But the IG under law is allowed to have his own independent counsel working for him. And there were many instances where they would have differing interpretations of the law surrounding an operation or covert action. And where does one take that? In our system, a dispute like that, you take it to the Office of Legal Counsel. So at one level, I can't blame him for doing that. But given the nature of the complaint, given the nature of the individuals mentioned in the complaint, maybe not the wisest move.
Hey, Evan, let's talk about the impact on what's happening in Ukraine and Russia right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty bad because this is not helping President Zelensky. This is not helping Ukraine, right? Yeah. I mean, it looks like in public, and we even saw this at the UN with our president sitting there with President Zelensky. Basically, President Zelensky is trying to get him to say, we support you 100%, which would be the normal thing that any president should say, sitting next to the Ukrainian president who's fighting a hot war with our adversary, Russia.
Why does the president keep saying to President Zelensky, he and Vladimir Putin are going to sit down and talk?
Yeah.
They're at war.
Again,
what is he talking about?
I think what it's a reminder of, Chuck, is that all of this started because of President Trump's or desire to please Vladimir Putin, and it's still going on. And Ukraine's now dragged into this. It was always part of it because, of course, it's fighting a hot war with Russia, and it needs our support.
But the reason we have the aid has to do with Crimea. I mean,
our domestic stuff. Now Ukraine is interfering, even though it doesn't want to, in our elections. I mean.
And you heard Zelensky say in New York, I don't want to get involved in the American politics. I mean, it's really become, it's really strained on the relationship, obviously.
I actually think Zelensky has shown himself to be the most nimble politician of the week. And I would just say that. I thought he handled it as well as he could.
As a politician for about a week.
I was just going to say, he may be a comedian, but he walked that tightrope pretty well. Anyway, Carolyn, Evan, Larry, Jeremy, thank you guys for bringing some explanations to what we're trying to deal with here. Hello, YouTubers. If you're watching this, it means you've checked out our channel, so thank you. Now do me a favor, subscribe by clicking on that button down there. Click on any of the videos to watch the latest interviews and highlights from MTP Daily and MSNBC. You can get more Beat the Press content every morning in the First Read newsletter. If you're tired of content that you don't know anything about where it came from, you don't have to have that problem with us. NBC News, MSNBC, MTP, and the Meet the Press mindset right here for you on YouTube. Subscribe now.